I don't have the answers. I don't have the plan. Help me understand. Tell me why. Not as much as you. Tell me all your secrets, and I'll tell you most of mine. Did you ever watch Mad About You?
No. It was one of those things, I don't know why Frasier was on all the time and I did watch it, and Mad About You was on all the time and I didn't watch it. Maybe it was on later. Frasier was immediately after The Simpsons. I think just by exposure, I watched a lot of Frasier.
I don't think Mad About You had as much exposure as Frasier or Seinfeld.
I mean, it was in that Thursday night lineup, wasn't it? I hate that font.
Are you talking to me?
The Mad About You font.
What font?
This font.
Oh.
It was made in Corel Draw.
Well, it looks derivative now, but at the time it was avant-garde. She scooped the niblets because we watched season 7, episode 1, The Engagement. I had trouble saying 7. Hello, Katy.
Hello, Derek.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Welcome back.
It's been a long time. It's been a month since we recorded a podcast.
I mean, it's probably been a month since we've done like a proper Seinfeld episode. I don't think it's been a month since we did
at least
the Eggnoggathon.
No, I think it's been at least. And a lot's happened. It feels like a lot longer ago. Anyway, we're back.
I'm sure it's just like riding a bicycle.
It's nice to sit and talk to you again.
We have not said
pretty much
word to each other since then. Do you know where my wallet is?
Your real wallet or your fake wallet for travel?
Both. So we watched season 7, episode 1, The Engagement. How'd you like The Engagement?
I mean, to dive back into Seinfeld after being away, I feel like it was a good episode. I had problems with it.
Okay.
But I think Elaine always saves an episode for me. Her raspy voice and desperation at the dog barking. Her haircut. I'm here for Elaine.
She looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like
her crime outfit later on with the leather jacket and the baseball hat.
Her Janet Jackson outfit.
Yes. With the cross earring. Yeah. Very Rhythm Nation.
Fun fact, she lost her voice in the scene where she was yelling out the window at the dog.
For real.
And they just went with it.
I thought maybe she was sick and then they worked it in or something like that.
Nope. It was from yelling at the fake dog.
Speaking of Elaine's outfits, later on, when Jerry tells her about George's engagement, she and Jerry are wearing the exact same color of like winey purple plummy color.
Well, there you go. Maybe they're a Korean couple.
So tell us about The Engagement.
So The Engagement was written by Larry David. It was directed by Andy Ackerman, and it aired on September 21st, 1995. Vulture.com ranked it as the 23rd best episode.
Wow.
Screen Crush had it at a kind of, top third, 63. It came in on IMDb as in the 42nd slot.
So we're going to say 42nd percentile.
With an 8.6 out of 10. The Wikipedia article about this episode also mentioned that Variety ranked it as the 106th best episode.
What did they have to say about it?
It didn't say. It just said that in a ranking that Variety did.
So who were the guest stars?
So in this season 7 premiere, there actually weren't too many guest stars that we hadn't already met before. We had Wayne Knight returning as Roman, returning as Newman. We had Jerry Stiller reprising his role as Frank Costanza, Estelle Harris as Estelle Costanza, Heidi Swedberg as Susan Ross. However, some new guest stars we had were Mario Joyner, who played Mario Joyner.
Who?
He was the guy that Jerry walked out of the movie Firestorm with and was talking to. He was in B-Movie, Pootie Tang, and 3 Men and a Baby. And he will also return in season 9 for another Seinfeld episode.
As Mario Joyner?
No.
Oh.
We had Athena Messi in the role of Melanie, Jerry's girlfriend who ate peas one at a time.
Oh.
She was in an episode of Star Trek Voyager.
Of course.
She played the role of Sexy Girl in The Nutty Professor. And she was the voice of Lieutenant Eva Lee in Command and Conquer, Yuri's Revenge.
Is that a TV show?
It's a video game.
Okay.
She did a lot of voice work for video games.
What about George's girlfriend who beats him in chess?
I don't know.
Huh. Did you remember this episode? I'm just going to ask you because I don't think we asked you a month ago.
Yeah, I remember this episode. It was very iconic with like the George out on the pier and the we're not men, we're boys. The whole pact thing. I don't know if you can guess, but this starts like the whole season 7 story arc. So it's pretty.
I do remember George and Susan. I probably remember them from season 7, not from before. Maybe I was like watching Seinfeld here and there at this point. I don't remember this episode, but I do remember them together and planning to get married.
I also remember the whole dog. Like Newman's the guy that they go to like get help with the dog, and they go and they get the dog, and it's a tiny little thing, and that they drop it off in the upstate New York, and it makes its way home. Anyways,
where'd they go? Montecito.
I don't know where that is.
I'll read the synopsis. George and Jerry lament their lack of direction in life, leading George to propose to ex-girlfriend Susan. Elaine turns to Newman to help kidnap a dog. I was thinking if I hadn't read the synopsis, and if I'd seen it, as you would have seen it when this episode premiered, it would have been pretty shocking of George to go and propose to Susan. That's like a big deal. Maybe
we should have you not write down the synopsis until after the episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think we should start doing that.
Okay. After 6 seasons, we will not spoil it for me.
Well, I was actually sitting there watching you, and I was wondering if you would, like, when Kramer takes Elaine and they haven't yet revealed that they're going to Newman for help.
No, I knew it was Newman. It was right there.
Well, because it was in the thing. But would you have guessed that they would be going to Newman for help with the dog?
It makes sense. He's a mailman. He doesn't like dogs. But no.
But that was like a reveal to the audience at the time. In 1995, you're not reading synopsises before watching the episode.
If you have the TV guide, I think it's written in there.
Not as verbose as Netflix. No.
So there's no stand-up.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. It felt like it opened kind of weird and kind of flat too.
Yeah.
I think they thought that the
chess joke was really going to land.
Yeah. Or get a bigger reaction from the audience, or
yeah,
I don't know.
You brought your queen out too fast. She likes to stay home, cook, and take care of her man.
She's one of these feminists who wants to get out of the house.
So George can't take it that he is beaten one time in chess. He's emasculated.
It makes him feel intellectually inferior.
Well, he is, though.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't want to feel that way.
And so then we see Elaine screaming out her window at the dog in her nightgown. And I really related to this because on more than one occasion, I have gone out on our balcony in my pajamas and yelled at our neighbors' kids when they're too loud. I know it doesn't help. I know it's still a crazy thing to do. But I understand getting to the point where you're like, I don't care that I'm out here in my pajamas. I don't care that I'm making a spectacle. This has to stop.
They also used to leave their dog out that would bark a lot.
Oh, yeah. Same people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should ask our mailman to take care of her.
No, our mailman gives dogs dog treats.
That way the dog will really trust him and she'll go with him. And then the kids threw a pizza on our car because I yelled at them.
They did. Are
you happy, Pappy?
So this was written into the script because Heidi Swedberg would say this to Larry David.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of big, right? Like she's, she's joining this cast of, 4 that has been together for 6 seasons, is like top of the sitcom charts, and she's getting like a prime role for the whole season.
Yeah.
Larry David wrote he knew he wanted to do a full season arc, and like his full season arc was going to be George gets engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote the first 3 episodes all together. But he didn't know how he was going to end it when he started it.
It's pretty funny because I think I know how it ends.
So what do you think about this like conversation at the diner? George is I'm much more comfortable criticizing people behind their backs, and they realize they're listless in life.
What in God's name are we doing?
That was my next note.
I think it's interesting that they have both recognized this behavior in themselves and identified it as a problem that needs action. Like George on many occasions is like, something is terrible in my life. I guess that's just my life, And I think Jerry has been just sort of quietly content through 6 seasons. And this is the first time he's got his head in his hands and he's like, really acting distressed.
He's even Steven.
Exactly. He's even Steven. Not anymore. Well, I guess by the end of the episode, he is again.
When you said growth, I was picturing like, what's something that grows and then immediately shrinks? And I was thinking of like one of those like inflatable tube dancing guys, but then like the switch turns off and it just like crumples back down.
Yeah.
Do you think, so you said they both have this realization. I think Jerry has this realization and then George is just easily influenced.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He could go on complaining and then like going through this cycle again and again. Jerry makes a turn and then to George, it's a pact. You held out your hand and I shook it.
Yeah. I was actually, so, this whole, there was a pact thing comes up multiple times through the rest of the series. So I was actually listening very carefully because I was like, I don't know if there actually is a pact.
No.
There is no pact.
No, there isn't. And I love that George immediately takes it too far in his mind, and he's like, he goes and sits on the pier and thinks about Susan and then decides to propose to her. At no point were they sitting there and being like, we should marry people. Like we should.
That's what men do. This is kind of aside. Where's this pier? That pier does not look like New York.
People are frolicking in the waves. That is definitely California.
Yeah.
So then Jerry's in his apartment and Kramer comes over. He tells him about this conversation he's had with George, this life-changing conversation. And then Kramer immediately poo-poos the idea.
It's a prison.
Marriage, family, they're prisons. And Jerry, like that, he's like, oh yeah, you're right. Easily swayed.
I'm surprised that you have any notes about the section because the entire time you're just staring at me.
I was staring at you when Kramer was imitating a whipped married man going.
Forget about watching TV while you're eating dinner. Because while you're eating dinner, you got to talk about your day. How was your day?
Was it a good day? Was it a bad day?
What kind of day did you have?
Permission to use the bathroom? That's why I was looking at you.
That's why you were looking at me.
We have to explain because you don't need permission to use the bathroom.
I don't ask for permission to use the bathroom.
You just inform me every time you're using the bathroom.
Not every time.
Well, you make sure that I know exactly where you are and what you're doing at all times.
That's not totally true.
I believe that it is.
If I'm in the kitchen getting breakfast ready and then I'm going to go leave and take a shower, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go shower, so that you know that, like, I'm done doing this. It's not about what I'm going to do. It's that I'm leaving this.
Yeah, but what would possibly put me in a position where I was like, well, he was just here, and now he's not.
Well, you don't know, like, am I done getting lunch ready, or am I not? If I'm going to take a shower, then clearly I'm done getting lunch ready.
Yeah, I could also figure that out by the lunch sitting there. On the flip side, I guess...
On the flip side, you have left the house without telling me.
Yeah, I'm a grown-ass woman, and I have things to do. And you're working. You're on a video call 7 hours a day.
You just, like, gotten up and, like, we've been in the same room. You've just, like, gotten up and walked out the front door.
Probably to take out the garbage or something.
Whatever. Podcasting is fun. I missed this.
We're working out our issues. I've resolved to, speak your love language and tell you what I'm doing more often. Not be Katy Gator. Swimming under the surface and then just popping up with a fully formed plan in action.
No. Not popping up with a fully formed plan in action. Having gone and implemented the plan in action without telling me and then letting me know the results.
Yeah, aren't I considerate? I just do things for you and around you. And I don't, I'm not Susan going like, are you going to wear that shirt? Like, I'm just living my life and you live yours.
Keep that in mind. Well, what if there should be an unfortunate accident? So Newman's going to run out this dog.
He wants to, but they agree to kidnap it instead. Elaine's working on her compact laptop. She can't take it anymore. The dog's barking.
Thing looks pretty chunky.
The
laptop, not Elaine.
Oh, did your family have like a laptop growing up, or was it like firmly desktop until you were an adult?
It was firmly desktop until forever.
We had a desktop, and then for a while, this laptop thing showed up, but it wasn't really a laptop. The only thing it could do somehow was communicate with the library network. So you could look up the library catalog. You couldn't put holds on anything. You couldn't sign in and view your account. It was just like...
You just see what books the library had?
Yeah, but...
Isn't that all of them?
Do they have all the books? But you could look at your branch. So if you wanted a book, I guess you could see if it was there before you went. I don't know where this thing came from. And then it was gone afterwards. I don't know where it went. But it wasn't a real...
You sure this wasn't a dream?
No, this was a real thing that we had for some reason. But I got to play with it because it didn't really do anything. It wasn't on the internet. And I like to just like pretend I had a laptop.
How old were you at this point? So like what era?
Oh, probably still grade school. So
elementary school or grade school?
Those are the same thing.
Grade 5 or above.
Listen, I don't preface my stories with it was 1995 and I know this because we lived in the Blue House.
I'm just trying to figure out in terms of like technology what year it was.
I think we got the internet in our home in 1994. 95? 96? I don't know. Around that.
Okay.
I think maybe we already had the internet at home. No, maybe not. I don't know.
I'm just trying to figure out when this thing came. Was it from the library?
I don't know.
Was it a consumer product that the only thing you could do was look up?
I think it came from, I think my mom brought it from school. Maybe that it went away because we just had it over the summer and then it had to go back to her school. I don't know. I definitely didn't imagine this.
Well, how do you like that? I got rope.
You laughed out loud.
It was funny. I think this was a pretty good Kramer episode. Because he wasn't over the top physical comedy. There was like a lot of like his talking about how marriage is a prison. That was funny. His when Jerry catches him with all of his stuff going to get the dog. That was funny.
his apartment with Newman and Elaine. Or I guess that was Newman's apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will also say, I think that some of Jerry Seinfeld's best physical comedy was in this episode. Because he's not really like a physical comedy guy.
No.
But how he acts when George is like kind of like mopey and about to leave. And he's like, hey, come on, we got to celebrate. Well, how often do you get to engage? Champagne, let's get champagne. And he's like looking around his apartment and he's like, oh, no champagne.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you later.
So awkward.
He was like channeling like a Jewish grandmother.
Should have pulled out some Hennigans.
The no smell, no tell scotch.
So George goes over to Susan's after creepily watching people on the pier for a long time and not saying anything.
There was some weird timeline issues with this episode. And like stuff was happening, George was on the pier. Stuff was happening, George was on the pier. Stuff was happening, George still on the pier.
Yeah. She answers the door. He says, "You want to get married?" And then he's calling his parents. He's got great news. Mom getting married. And she wants to talk to Susan. And she says...
Susan says, and I quote, "I love your son very much."
Yes. And she goes, "May I ask why?"
That, I think, is like maybe the most unbelievable part of this whole thing. I can believe that George goes there and convinces Susan to marry him.
It took a couple hours.
I do not think she would then say, "I love him very much."
Well,
I'm very excited to get married to your son.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know, but maybe she does love George very much. And maybe the couple of hours of convincing has sort of, brought her around to the idea, because I guess that's the only thing that makes sense. I guess I love him very much if I said yes. And then I'm going to talk to his parents right away and say that. I don't know. I don't think I've ever told your parents that I love you. It's a weird thing to say.
By the way, I love that guy.
So what's Susan's deal? She tapes Mad About You and then makes a big deal about, I'm starting it. Like, it's taped.
She wanted to go to bed.
George is on the phone. She can wait a minute.
She's very excited about Mad About You. Helen Hunt and Paul... Reiser?
She wanted to go see The Muted Heart. And Jerry and George were going to see Firestorm. Not real movies.
Mm-hmm.
Although, not real movies in 1995.
Oh, really?
But in 1998, a movie came out called Firestorm. Not with Harrison Ford.
Is it with Howie Long?
Who is that?
A former football player. Who is in Firestarter?
It wasn't called Firestarter.
Who's in Firestorm?
You're right, Howie Long.
Yeah.
Who is that?
He's a former football player, current football commentator.
Oh. Barry Pepper?
That's a made-up name. Hey, you know those fruits that have a bunch of seeds on the inside? Yeah, berries or peppers.
It's like the caperberry.
Caperberry.
Sadly, The Muted Heart is not a current major motion picture.
Well, I think we know what.
What's Glenn Close up to?
You know that script we've been working on?
Yeah.
The one we've been writing a role for Glenn Close?
And so there was a weird moment. Everybody's asleep. And they show Elaine. Oh, she's sleeping soundly because the dog has been dropped off upstate. They show George and Susan. Susan has scrunched him all the way to the side of the bed. He looks miserable. Then Kramer is having a nightmare.
Uh-huh.
In which
there must be a missing scene here.
In which he looks like Huck Finn.
That's exactly what I wrote.
And a dog attacks him.
Sitting next to a tree, Huckleberry Finn getting attacked by a dog. Is I don't know, the ASPCA on set for this scene, because he looks like he's being pretty rough with his dog. that is clearly not actually attacking him, but he is like
miming,
roughhousing,
strangling him. Yeah. So I don't really know the Tom Sawyer Huckleberry Finn story, but the only thing I could find was that the two of them thought that hearing a stray dog barking or having a stray dog bark at you meant that you were destined to die. I mean sooner than usual.
Oh.
And then they hear a stray dog barking, but it's barking at someone else. And that's the only really tenuous connection I could find to why Kramer was dressed like that.
It was very strange.
Yeah. And then they show Jerry sprawled out on his bed, happy, alone.
I don't know if we've seen it like already, but they've done, oh no, it was in the contest where everybody who is still in the contest is like tossing and turning, right. But then they go to Kramer and he's like sleeping with a woman.
Yeah.
Or sleeping soundly?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I laughed at the end where George and Susan are watching Mad About You, and George's forehead is just all wrinkled up.
So wrinkled.
He really... Does he hate it? Does he not understand? Mad About You? I don't know.
He's just thinking that's his life. His life now is Mad About You reruns, 10 p.m.
I mean, he could have watched the rerun of the Yankees game instead.
Is Mad About You on any streaming services?
Streaming on CTV. Apple TV, Google Play Movies. What? 10 seasons exist.
10?
Yeah. 10 seasons exist. You can get 2 seasons on Apple TV or 8 of them on CTV streaming.
Release the riser cut. Like, how come we're not? I
don't know. Maybe that's our next endeavor. Something neither of us have seen.
I have seen some episodes, but like, it's weird that
I don't know the premise. I don't know what it's about. I know there's 2 people in it at least.
Uh-huh.
Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser.
Yep. And
apparently also Lisa Kudrow. That's all I know.
Yeah, them as a couple,
yeah.
And stuff happens.
That's it.
Man, you did not need like...
No premise.
A premise for a sitcom in the 90s.
No. I mean, we are talking about Seinfeld. Literally the epitome of no premise.
Well, I mean, the premise was, where does a stand-up comedian get his material?
Sure.
11 seasons.
11?
What? The thing I found skips season 10 for some reason. Young urban newlyweds, Paul and Jamie Buckman, try to sustain their marital bliss while sidestepping the hurdles of love in the 90s.
Yeah, so literally just like, we're married. Maybe this is our next project. We're married. Maybe love in the 2020s has some parallels.
Possibly.
There's a pandemic.
There wasn't one in the 90s.
There was an AIDS pandemic.
Oh, sure. That's
a pandemic. Epidemic?
I don't think they tackle the AIDS pandemic on Mad About You. I could be wrong. I don't know. Helen Hunt can do anything.
That's all I have.
Yeah, my last 2 notes are Huckleberry Kramer and no stand-up.
Yeah, no stand-up at the end either. Weird. Is there going to be any more stand-up?
Yeah.
Okay. The next episode is The Postponement.
Do
you remember this episode?
I don't know. So, spoiler alert, George's and Susan's wedding does get postponed, but it feels like that happens later on and closer to when the wedding's supposed to actually happen. George basically cries in front of Susan. I don't know if that's it. Well, like he like has a plan, like, oh, I gotta tell her I gotta be the man, and then like he just like comes and he's like, I'm really overwhelmed, I don't want to get married so soon, blah, 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 blah. Let's postpone it. That seems soon for this, so I don't know. I don't think that is this.
We'll see.
Know. Yeah,
I have no corrections.
So unfortunately, the Seinfeld family did lose someone this past week.
Oh, no.
Peter Crombie, who played Crazy Joe Davola, died at the age of 71.
Huh. Well, that's too bad.
I hope he's wearing that clown makeup in the sky.
On that downer.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Believe it or not, this is our podcast. Please subscribe at the end. If you subscribed, we would be happy. Please subscribe to us. Believe it or not, it's our podcast.
Is that a Seinfeld reference?